So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kim Goff-Crews, and it is my privilege to welcome you here today as we honor our veterans. Now, before we begin, I would like to thank the Yale Police Department Color Guard for presenting the colors and express our deep gratitude to the Quinnipiac people for this land on which we stand. It is my pleasure to warmly welcome the students, faculty, staff, and alumni who are with us today, who have served and who are preparing to serve our country. We are grateful for the freedoms and privileges that your sacrifices have made possible. Each member of our veterans community contributes to the vibrant culture of our university. During our ceremony, you will hear from a veteran leader and a current student, and we will honor a former staff person who has supported and advocated for Yale veterans. Our speakers and our honoree represent commitment to honor and country, to our veterans, and to those who care for them and support them. So we will start, and it's now my pleasure to introduce President Peter Salovey.
Thank you, Vice President Goff-Crews. Appreciate that introduction. Thank you all for being here. And it gives me great pleasure to see so many members of the Yale community gathered for our commemoration of Veterans Day. It's a privilege especially to extend a warm welcome to current and former servicemen and servicewomen who are here with us today. Why don't we recognize all those in the service? So for over 3 centuries, Yale students, faculty, staff, and alumni have answered dutifully and with distinction the call to serve. The university's proud tradition of service began with the Revolutionary War, and it includes nearly 30,000 Yalees who served in the First and Second World Wars, and in Korea, and in Vietnam. And now, the tradition continues. It continues through those who are enlisted in the Reserve Officers Training Corps on campus, as well as the many veterans in our community. And ceremonies like this one remind us of the tremendous sacrifices our veterans have made to keep the peace in a world that has become a more dangerous place. In the words of former Secretary of State and Yale honorary degree recipient, the late Madeleine Albright, while democracy in the long run is the most stable form of government, it is, in the short run, among the most fragile. The price of liberty, as noted by the eminent Wendell Phillips and many others, is internal vigilance. Around us, threats to democracy, stoked increasingly by disinformation and the division that it sows, demand our utmost vigilance. Standing watch are those who sit before us. Every veteran here today understands that the essential values in which we believe so deeply require sacrifice. I'm thinking of how the veterans assembled here this afternoon exemplify our highest ideals. I'm reminded of what Yale looks for, and more particularly, whom it looks for. Several decades ago, University President Kingman Brewster memorably distilled the Yale admissions process as, this is his words, a combination of looking for those with a zest to stretch the limits of their talents and those with an outstanding public motivation. We have to make the hunchy choice, he said, as to whether or not the candidate for admission is likely to be a leader in whatever they end up doing. So let there be no doubt that with each of our Yale veterans, that with each of you who have set out to improve the world for this and future generations, we got it right. Yale made the right decision. You have rewarded our hunch, and most importantly, you have represented the best of humanity with your heroism. And so for this, you have our deepest gratitude. You have our deepest admiration for bringing great honor to this university. Of course, at Yale, we are ever aware of our obligation to pair our words in support of veterans with action that provides it. Yale, I'm proud to say, is routinely recognized among the best colleges in the nation for veterans, in part due to our commitment to ensuring that a Yale education is affordable for everyone, such as through our participation in the Yellow Ribbon program, just as an example. We strive also to honor and support our servicemen and women through the Yale Veterans Network, a campus group for students, faculty, and staff, and the Yale Veterans Association for our alumni. And beyond our campus, meanwhile, the Yale Law School is helping to rid the veterans benefit system of racial disparities. We have many from the law school here today. By supporting our veterans, we affirm our unending appreciation to them for strengthening our society, indeed sustaining our society, through their service and sacrifice. So I want to close by shifting from Yale's efforts to yours. The ultimate test of a person's conscience, said Senator Gaylord Nelson, may be their willingness to sacrifice something today for future generations whose words of thanks will not be heard. So today, let our words of thanks ring out loudly to reach those veterans in our community who have passed this test and the service members on campus who have enlisted to join them. The valor of Yale's veterans is a source of tremendous pride to this university, and I want to thank you all once more for being here today and for helping us to honor them and you. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm Violetta Ware, co-chair of the Yale Veterans Network, and I'm here to recite the invocation. If those of you who could stand, please stand at this time. Grand Architect of the universe, called by many names, in many languages, by many voices, today we ask that your guiding hands hold us and all sisters and brothers in military service near. We are grateful for all who now serve, all who have served, and all for those who, in the words of President Abraham Lincoln, gave the last full measure of devotion in service of their country. We are joined in humility, gratitude, and our own measure of devotion, knowing that as we seek to understand an increasingly complex world, we are sheltered by the vigilant service of citizens to our republic. We ask special regard for those who have served but who have not yet been found and returned home, and for those who have returned but who have yet to find themselves at home. We honor our military and ask that whatever is required of them be informed by your infinite wisdom, the light, and the truth, as they honorably and loyally seek to create a peaceful and secure future for us all. Ashe. You may be seated.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I'd like to recognize and thank President Salovey, Secretary Goff-Crews, Provost Strobel, Dean Pericles Lewis, Chaplain Saltiel, and the Veterans Day Committee. I'd like to personally thank Dean Risa Sodi, Ms. Patricia Way, Mr. Jack Beecher, Head Heider, Dean Chanhoke, and all of my fall term professors because they will inevitably influence my GPA in a few weeks. Most importantly, I'd like to thank the veterans, reservists, National Guardsmen, active duty service members, civil service members, firefighters, law enforcement personnel, and their families who willingly sacrifice and endure more than most will ever know for being in attendance. To everyone else, thank you for being here and supporting this event. It's truly an honor to have been selected and given the responsibility to provide my remarks here today. Although I will describe what Veterans Day means to me, I want to emphasize that I do not intend to have the last word on the meaning of Veterans Day or how we should observe or honor it. Today, my only goals are to underscore the importance of unity in our society, thank those that have had and will continue to have a profound impact on my life, and honor the sacrifices of veterans and uniformed service members. To me, Veterans Day is not meant to be exclusive. It is not a day for civilians to thank veterans and uniformed service members, and it is certainly not a day for veterans and service members to rest on their laurels, bask in America's gratitude, and become complacent. To me, Veterans Day is inclusive to all Americans, and it is meant to remind us of the importance of unity. It is a day for all Americans to acknowledge the fact that America's freedom was achieved and is maintained through the selfless sacrifices that have transcended and continue to transcend every group and every class of American society. Each year, Veterans Day provides an opportunity for civilians to thank those who have served for their sacrifices, but simultaneously, it provides veterans and service members with a chance to thank the civilians, mentors, friends, and family members that have supported and continue to support them throughout their journeys. For those of us who have served and are currently serving, this day should remind us to lead by example, keep striving for greatness, and live our lives in a way that would make those we knew who paid the ultimate sacrifice proud. But perhaps most importantly, Veterans Day is meant to remind us all that freedom is not free, it is realized through action, and it can only be maintained when, as Americans, we unify and collectively support each other in our efforts to improve our society and create a better world. Before I get into my military service and my path to becoming a veteran at Yale, I'd like to share a bit about myself. I grew up in southern Minnesota in a town of less than 2,000 people with my mother, father, sister, and brother. My siblings and I had a tough upbringing in what I would consider to be a broken home. We had little money, my parents were addicted to opioids, and different forms of abuse were common occurrences in my household. I've often been asked about the decisions and actions that I undertook to persevere through adversity in my childhood, what made me different than those who went through similar struggles but ended up in different places, and what lessons I've learned along the way. In response to those questions, I always say two things. First, when faced with adversity, leaders do what needs to be done regardless of how unpleasant those actions and decisions may be. The second and more important thing I say is that there is no such thing as self-made. When I needed to get away or have a place to stay for a night, it was the Bornicke and Westfall families that opened their homes and provided me with the support I needed. I was not different. I was not unique. I did not persevere through the adversity of my adolescence on my own. Leaders in my community rallied around me. They gave me encouragement during dark times, and they held me accountable when I needed it most. It took a village to build me up and show me pathways to success, and I am forever grateful for their support and leadership. My experiences in the military were no different. In 2010, I joined the military to provide support for my family and create a promising future for myself. But shortly after enlisting, I learned that personal and professional success would not come easy. I spent the first 2 years of my military service and training where I struggled to build strong personal connections, failed far more than I succeeded in my professional endeavors, and neglected to reach out and be there for my family who I claimed to be supporting. It wasn't until I arrived at my first unit at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, that I began to achieve more consistent success and gain perspective that I needed. When I arrived at Fort Bragg, I met two individuals that forever changed my life, one who is here today and one who is not. The one who is with us here today was Second Lieutenant Chris Brown, now Major Brown. When I arrived at my unit, I was arrogant, loud, selfish. I wasn't a good friend. I wasn't a good teammate, and I definitely wasn't a leader. Like the others, Chris had every reason to distance himself from me, but instead he coached, challenged, and mentored me in all areas of my life. His methods were often non-traditional, but they were effective. From politely encouraging me to put on a gas mask and body armor and run a half marathon at lunch in 100-degree heat, to quizzing me on radio communications procedures that were last relevant during World War II, he taught me a few valuable lessons. By providing me with a half marathon for lunch, he taught me that you have to do what others won't to achieve what others don't. By running those half marathons with me, he showed me that as a leader, you can never ask somebody to do something that you wouldn't do yourself. And by quizzing me on the communications techniques of World War II soldiers, he taught me that you can learn something from everyone. Chris taught me how to be a friend, teammate, and leader, but most importantly, he taught me what it means to be a man. Thank you, Chris. The second person I met at Fort Bragg was Staff Sergeant Brandon Cullen-Toll. Brandon and I had a lot of similarities, and he was one of the only people that I talked openly with about my past and the loss of my father. After telling Brandon about my reason for joining the military and my commitment to my family, he held me accountable and encouraged me to be more involved with my mother and siblings. Upon noticing my inability to build strong personal connections and friendships, Brandon invited me to weekend gatherings and made me a part of his friend group. And he advocated for me as an asset to the unit and the broader military family community. Nevertheless, Brandon and I's friendship ended on August 25th, 2012, when he passed away in a motorcycle accident in Spring Lake, North Carolina. Brandon served 3 tours in Afghanistan, once receiving the Purple Heart. Brandon was and is known for the profound impact that he had on the lives of everyone he knew. And today, his influence continues to positively affect those that knew him and those that never did. Brandon's sister, Kaylee, and brother, Cam, are with us here today. And each year in Dover, New Hampshire, their family organizes a memorial event and provides a scholarship in Brandon's name. Brandon's impact in life and death should remind us that the way we live our lives and the imprints we put on this earth are lasting, they have meaning, and they could change someone else's life. Thank you for being here today, Kaylee and Cam. I share these 2 stories with you today because Chris and Brandon exemplify the selflessness, empathy, and leadership that most veterans and service members leverage to create impact on a daily basis. Outside of selfless sacrifice and defense of freedom and democracy, veterans provide 2 broad things to society: leadership and perspective. Regardless of branch, occupation, or combat experience, veterans appreciate and embody transformational leadership. They give their subordinates the space and responsibility to succeed or fail, but they're always around and willing to build their people back up. Veterans know that when you dare to be great, you either win or you learn. They know and believe this because their life's dependent on it. As leaders, veterans prioritize empathy and individualized consideration. And when times get tough, veterans never let others struggle on their own. Struggle and suffering are necessary for growth, and throughout life, every person is subjected to both. But when these unpleasant conditions leave one lost and without direction, veterans are often uniquely positioned to provide the perspective that most do not have. Veterans understand that no matter what you're going through, no matter how difficult and troubling your situation may be, there is someone else who went through something worse, and they probably dealt with it more gracefully than you are currently. These selfless individuals have an intimate understanding of hardship, and when veterans integrate into the civilian populace, they benefit the collective by eliminating defeatism and creating hope. Living veterans provide significant value to our society, but it is the fallen veterans that provide us with an example of what we should aspire to be. Fallen veterans remind us to be selfless and to prioritize the mission and the people, but perhaps most importantly, they remind us that we could be far greater than we currently are. Today, in 2023, our society is in need of unity, and one way to work toward achieving that unity is by bridging the military-civilian divide. In my opinion, places like Yale University offer the perfect environment to work toward that goal, and unity can be realized through interactions between Yale's traditional students and the university's veteran community. Yale's traditional students challenge veterans in many ways, and they are critical in forcing veterans to consider new perspectives and embrace innovative ways of thinking. That said, it is not lost on me that as I stand here today, I am in the presence of some of America's heroes, and each day as I walk around this campus, I am thankful that Yale's traditional students have the opportunity to learn from them. Heroes like Chris Hallows, Jimmy Hatch, Connor McAvoy, Danny McCausland, Will Myers, and Steve Sheffert are some of the greatest veterans and active duty service members that our country has to offer, and they provide more experience, knowledge, and expertise to Yale's traditional students than I could put into words. However, these men and the many male and female veterans that I did not mention offer much more. They are sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, fathers, and mothers, and in my opinion, they can teach us a whole lot about how to live a wholesome life and be a good person. To the ROTC cadets and students aspiring to serve in attendance, I want to personally thank you for your selflessness and willingness to serve our country. After Yale, you will have the option to do whatever you want, and with a Yale degree, you will be choosing one of the most difficult but rewarding paths. Serving the United States of America was the greatest responsibility and opportunity that I've ever been given, and I hope that in a few years you feel the same way. The world is filled with chaos and uncertainty, and we should all be thankful that there are people like you willing to answer our nation's call. You are all heroes in your own right, and I hope you know that. Thank you all for your time.
Hold on. Okay. Honoree. Hold.
You may be seated. I'm still feeling that, are you? Yeah. So the university recognizes outstanding contributions to Yale veterans with the annual Veterans Day Tribute Award. The recipient of the 2023 Veterans Day Tribute Award is to John Jack Beecher. Now, the reality is most of us know Jack, so he really doesn't really need an introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. One, because we want to make sure that he knows how we see him and what he's meant to us. And the second is because we want a written record in our archives of who he was and what he meant. Jack is a United States Air Force veteran, retired Yale business leader, university citizen, and a longtime champion for veterans at Yale. He is with us today with his family, welcome, and we are thrilled to publicly recognize his contributions. In 2016, Jack became the inaugural Veterans Liaison at Yale. His charge from Provost Ben Pollock, whom I see in the audience, was to create and implement a plan to support university-affiliated military veterans. Now, the job was intended to be part-time, but those of you who are familiar with Jack know that there was nothing part-time about his dedication. He was the first central point of contact for student, faculty, staff, and alumni military veterans. Jack became a champion of veterans and a problem solver. He supported staff veterans through the innovative Veterans Count campaign and created important connections with our student veterans, notably those in the Eli Whitney program in Yale College and the veterans enrolled in the law school and School of Management. At the time, student veterans felt underrepresented and unheard, and Jack became their advocate. He listened and acted on their behalf, building a network of leaders and staff across the university who valued all veterans. This resulted in policy changes, advocacy, and relationships that improved the university's environment for veteran students and staff. As you all know, some of our military-affiliated students are preparing to serve through Yale's Naval and Air Force ROTC programs. Many are here with us today. Jack has been an unwavering supporter of ROTC and especially welcoming and helpful when new commanding officers arrived on campus. He has also worked extensively with the Yale Veterans Network, which is our staff veterans affinity group, and with the Yale Veterans Association, our veteran alumni, once again creating positive relationships between veterans across the university to improve culture and experiences. As President Salovey mentioned, 2 years ago, U.S. News and World Report ranked Yale the #1 school in the country for veterans and active duty service members. While this was a recognition of great collective effort across the university, the ranking was due in no small part to the role that Jack played in helping to create the environment in which veterans, active duty service members, and student participants in ROTC are valued and respected. Jack, if you can come up. On behalf of our entire university, and especially our veterans, I want to thank you for all of you contributed to create a strong community of respect, connection, and belonging for our veterans. This is an award that's so well deserved. So I'm going to give you a small token and maybe say remarks. 1 second, I'm going to give you this token.
Thank you. President Salovey, Secretary Goff-Crews, officers of Yale, U.S. military veterans and their families, and other honored guests, happy Veterans Day. Thank you for being here to acknowledge the service of our veterans and their families. Well, you've already heard more about me than you probably want to know. I'm going to tell you more. During my first attempt at college, I was a marginal student as I was unable to balance my need for fun with academic realities. I withdrew, and while I like to call it a tactical retreat, it was actually an escape. I enlisted in the Air Force and served from November 1965 to July of 1969. To put that in historical perspective, Neil Armstrong, a Navy veteran, and Buzz Aldrin, an Air Force veteran, walked on the moon within weeks of my return. Kingman Brewster, a Navy veteran, was the president of Yale, and to date the only veteran to have served in that capacity. However, I'm told we're getting another president soon. Never know. After receiving my honorable discharge, I was told not to wear my uniform home on the flight from Seattle. At that time, many Americans blamed veterans for the war. And while I know now that it was misdirected anger, I didn't know it then. It was painful and it was embarrassing. And I felt insulted that my service had been disavowed and canceled. I didn't discuss my military experience for many years and could never have imagined that I'd be standing before you today at Yale honoring veterans. I've learned a great deal in the ensuing years. After the 9/11 attacks on New York and Washington, I was concerned with safety at Yale and my first thought was to find the veterans on campus because I knew they could be called on to stand watch and that they would understand and respond and serve. In 2001, we had no way to do this. Today, we are more connected than ever. With encouragement from relentless alumni from the late 1960s, you all know who you are, and the support from our administration, led by the daughter of a Navy admiral, we've come a long way. ROTC units celebrated a decade back on campus. There's a full-time university liaison for veterans and military affairs, and teams from admissions, the dean's office, the registrar, financial aid, and our Office of Diversity, Inclusion, and Accessibility have extended themselves to make Yale the university of choice for many veterans. The Warrior Scholar Program was founded at Yale. It supports enlisted veterans who, like me, had little awareness of their future potential until their military service. And while I didn't have the Warrior Scholar Program available to me, I did meet a lovely nurse from New York who said, "Jack, you're a really good softball player, but have you ever thought of going back to college?" I did go back for my degree, and I also married her, and we will be celebrating our 53rd anniversary on November 29th. Thank you for everything, Barbara. I'm fond of saying that veterans are better by being at Yale, that Yale is better by having veterans studying here, and our country is made much stronger by both. The common bond created by service to others, to our community, and to our country is strong and runs deep at Yale and in the military. This bond is intergenerational and self-perpetuating. Veterans and alumni willingly accept responsibility to current students and active military. This spring, I was contacted by a member of the class of 1968, wanting to know how he could support our undergraduate veterans. Interestingly enough, he had served in the Army a few miles from Playco Air Base at the same time I was stationed there. He traveled from the Midwest to New Haven to meet me and two of our veteran students. After dinner, he sent a note which I quote, "Both of them are truly unique individuals and quite extraordinary in their own ways. They make me proud to be a vet who graduated from Yale." That's from a 1968 graduate in the darkest part of the university's relationship with the military. They make me proud as well. The intersection of Yale and the military has incalculable potential to improve both. I'm proud of all that has been accomplished, but this being Yale, I know the best is yet to come. Personally, I've only expected three things from my military service: the respect of those who served before me, the respect of those who served after me, and a flag on my coffin, which in my case will be the same one used to drape my father-in-law's casket, as he was a World War II veteran of the Army Air Corps. I've received so much more than that from my service, including GI Bill support to complete my college education, and most importantly, an understanding of duty and responsibility to myself and to others. Today, I thank you for your support of our veterans, that special 11% of our population who pledged to defend our Constitution with their lives. They understand what it means to be part of something larger than themselves, and they support those who followed in the same path. It's very difficult for me to describe my emotions on days like this. I burst with pride in seeing the women and the men in our ROTC programs, the next generation preparing to protect and defend us. And my interactions with undergraduate veterans and active military studying here fill me with optimism for America's future. Their presence is a validation of all veterans' decisions to serve. In recent years, I've been thanked many times for my service to my country. While visiting friends in Wisconsin, I had a chance meeting with an Iowa farmer who was a Vietnam veteran. We talked briefly and found that we were in country at the same time. When we parted, he said to me, with tears in his eyes, "Welcome home, brother." I feel at home and welcome at Yale, as everyone should be. I thank you for the opportunity to serve the veteran community here. Happy Veterans Day.
Please stand as you are willing and able. May we go forth from this place of profound memory and deep meaning with grateful hearts and souls. Grateful for the sacrifice of our veterans and their families. Let us never forget all they have done to bravely protect freedom and human rights. From the moment our veterans make the commitment to serve, they were committing to a life that would forever be changed. May we be mindful that the life of a veteran is always multidimensional. It is rooted in the pride and promise of liberation, coupled with the ever-present possibility of peril or alienation. All of these things are held in tension and contain a longing for a certain kind of peace to revive our weary world. As we honor our veterans and we seek to grow closer to this deep peace, may we embody a peace born from wisdom and understanding, a peace nurtured with compassion and mercy, a peace strengthened by courage and commitment. And may we be blessed this day and every day by the shimmering light of our God of many names, our God who creates, sustains, and embraces all life. Amen.
We're going to close in a second, so you can sit down. I only have a few notes before we sign off. So before we go, I do want to take a moment to wish very happy birthday to the United States Marine Corps, Semper Fi. We know it's your birthday, so congratulations. I also want to make sure that you know that there will be a Yale Veterans Association Military History at Yale tour right after this, a walking tour that can accommodate about 25 people. It'll be leaving from the cenotaph right behind me. And I actually want to thank the planning committee and our ceremony participants, so thank you very much for all of that you did. And special thanks to Tom Duffy and the Yale School of Music Brass Ensemble for sharing with music, inspiring, energetic. Thank you very much. We're going to learn some of us are going to learn all the songs, okay? So when today has passed and we return to our very busy lives, I hope that we will continue to remember the people of Yale who have faithfully taken oaths to protect and serve. We are a stronger, more diverse, and more inclusive community because of them. And I want to thank you for joining us. Have a great day.